I love that new intro still. Shout out to Graphic Burns. We got a new producer behind the mic today or behind the camera. And you're like, whoa. All right, coming up on today's show, Deshaun Watson will be playing in the preseason. We're going to discuss whether or not that's a good move and what to expect for number 4. Plus, the Browns are working out a running back in wake of the Jerome Ford injury. So we'll get you guys caught up to speed on that front. Quick self-plug, make sure to subscribe. That way you do not miss our watch party this Friday night for week 1 of the preseason between the Browns and the Commanders. And make sure to join us for our watch party. It is a blast. Now, let's get to the Deshaun Watson portion of the show because he spoke to the media today and said that he will be playing in the preseason game this Friday against the Washington Commanders. I don't think anyone should be too surprised by this. Remember, he played in week 1 of the preseason last year against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We know that was not an awesome preseason debut, but his receivers definitely didn't do him any help. But here's what Watson had to say on playing in the preseason. Just get things down from an operational standpoint and get myself in a routine for the beginning of the season. We're just going to try to operate and be as sharp and safe as possible. I agree with Deshaun Watson playing in the preseason. I think it's a good move for the Browns. I think a couple of practices or 2 weeks of training camp in the books now should not be a point where we go, all right, time to pack it up. We're all ready to go for week 1. Nothing to work on in the preseason. No. Sure, you're not going to have him play more than a quarter in the preseason, and even that is on the higher end of playing time for Watson and other starters. But I think you should have Deshaun Watson go out there and play at least a series or 2, 10, 15 snaps. That's basically what he did last year against the Jags in the first week of preseason football. I'd like to see Watson get out there and, smooth things over from the way he ended last season, which was not spectacular play. I don't want to see him have his first real game or first snap of football be in the regular season and not have him shake the cobwebs off in the preseason from the way he played last season. Now, Kevin Stefanski did talk about playing the starters. Here's what he said. We will play the majority of our starters. With Deshaun, we'll see if it's 1 to 2 series. Kind of play that by ear. Now, he said majority of the starters, and if I had to put together a list of players that I do not want to see play in the preseason, it's this list. Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, and Joel Bitonio. I think all 4 of those players are above preseason football. Let's just call it what it is. Preseason football is primarily for the backups and the third stringers, and there's a reason why the NFL cut it down from 4 to 3 preseason games. It's not all that necessary. It's really for the owners to just sell tickets and get more butts in seats and more concessions. If the ownership did not make money from preseason football, we probably would not have 3 weeks of the preseason. So at the end of the day, if preseason is basically for the owners to put more money in their pockets, then we don't need to see Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, and Joel Bitonio. We know who they are as players. They are superstars in my eyes. We don't need to risk them getting injured, even for just 1 snap. They are ready to roll when week 1 of the regular season rolls around. For other guys, they might be close to that status, but they still need to, smooth things over, just get themselves ready for regular season football. And that might mean just 10, 15 snaps in the preseason, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't need to see any of these players or anyone who's just even slightly injured. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. But let me know what your thoughts are when it comes to playing starters in the preseason. Should it happen? Yes or no? I'm open to playing starters for a series or 2 in the first, or you can pick your preseason game, first, second, third. They used to do week 3 of the preseason was the dress rehearsal. That's now kind of been moved around based on, which team you're with. So I don't mind the starters playing a series or 2, but if you got some superstar players, you don't need to see them play in the preseason. Now, for everyone that's saying, no, they should not play in the preseason, I don't think you're necessarily wrong. There's no real right or wrong when it comes to how much snaps or how much playing time starters should get in the preseason. But I think playing 10 to 20 snaps and getting injured in that very small frame is just bad luck. It's not bad management. It's not on the head coach saying he should not have even been out there. If a starter gets hurt in the second half of a preseason game, different conversation. But if you get a Nick Harris fluke injury once every few years, that blows chunks. It sucks, but I don't think that is a cause to just rip up the preseason and say no starters are going to play any snaps whatsoever, because then you get some rustiness in the first couple of weeks of the season, and you don't want that to snowball into a bad start to the year. Now, speaking of injuries, quick update on the Jerome Ford front. He was spotted at practice today working on the sideline individually. Kevin Stefanski said they are hopeful he will be ready to go by week 1, but you can't quite call it a definitive return by week 1. So Jerome Ford continues to deal with a hamstring injury, and so that opens the door for the Browns adding another running back like Jordan Wilkins. So the Browns are working, or they worked Wilkins out in wake of the Jerome Ford injury. You might recognize the name. He was with the Colts for a long time, 5 seasons in Indy, 1 season with the Tennessee Titans. Last year, he only played in 4 games, 13 carries for 58 yards, so didn't get a lot of usage for the Colts a year ago. But in his career, the 1,000-yard rusher over those 6 seasons or 5 seasons. So he's definitely been given some opportunities, and he's produced some good moments. I mean, the guy averages nearly 5 yards a carry. So for him to be an RB3 on your team, you could definitely do a lot worse. I don't anticipate a big-name running back being signed, like, say, Kareem Hunt, who, by the way, left Indianapolis today without a deal. My guess is Kareem Hunt knows I finally have a market now. We've got some running backs getting injured. If he can hold out for another week or so, he might be a Las Vegas Raider. I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to play for the Raiders. So you should not expect a big-name running back like Zeke, Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette walking through the door to replace the RB2 for a couple of weeks. It's not like they lost Jerome Ford for the first month of the season or something, right? We're talking maybe it stretches into the first week, and we're talking about the backup running back. You don't sign a running back to $3 to $4 million to just replace your backup running back for 1, maybe 2, at max 3 weeks of the regular season. That's overkill in my eyes. So I'm sorry to be the party pooper, but you're not going to see a big-name running back come through those doors in Cleveland and be this team's RB2 for week 1 at a $3 million pay total. But let me know, should the Browns sign Kareem Hunt? This, of course, is the biggest name on the block, at least for Browns fans. 27 for yes or N for no. I'm passing altogether. We saw how Kareem Hunt looked last year. He was not someone who had that speed to get around the edge. I'm ready to move on from 27 and give the reins over to Jerome Ford. And I'm not going to let a hamstring injury on August 8th scare me away from Jerome Ford for 2023. Now, before we get on to the rest of today's show, our sportsbook partner, BetUS, they've got an awesome deal waiting for the dog pound. When you go to chatsports.com/bet, enter promo code Browns125, you get hooked up with a 125% deposit bonus. Now, it's preseason football. I am not going to advertise betting on the Browns to win. Actually, I would take the Commanders. Like, Sam Howell and Jacoby Brissett are going to play a lot of football this first week of the preseason, whereas the Browns are going to have a lot of Kellen Mond in there. So I think the Commanders +3 is a good bet. But I also just love the over. For no reason other than the preseason football is not a great product. We all know that. So at least keep yourself engaged and entertained by betting the over. All right, now some camp takeaways from day 13 of training camp. Deshaun Watson was up and down. He had some nice throws to David Njoku today, but he also had some passes get picked off. Juan Thornhill had an interception on Deshaun Watson. It was a bad decision, bad throw by Watson altogether. But when it comes to the Browns training camp, who's looking better, offense or defense, I think you definitely got to give the edge to the Browns offense. But I think it's good to see the defense win some games, right? Win some practices. Because once the pads come on and the playing field gets leveled a little bit, if you watched the first episode of Hard Knocks yesterday, you saw that offense and defense, they go at it for the first month of training camp. And neither side likes losing. Neither side likes doing push-ups. So you're going to see the defense get a little bit chippy, get a little bit edgy, and try to come away with some wins. And I don't think that's a sign of your offense is going to be bad this year. You want to see the defense get some points along the way. Now, some other players to watch for, Isaiah McGuire. So the Browns defensive line coach talked about Isaiah McGuire and what to expect out of him as he moves up the depth chart now that you have Alex Wright and Isaiah Thomas out for the rest of the preseason after getting arthroscopic knee surgeries. The former Missouri Tiger had some good plays, had some bad plays in the preseason game against the Jets on the Hall of Fame game against the Jets. So I'm excited to see what Isaiah McGuire looks like for the rest of the preseason because that was definitely a pick for the future. This is someone that next preseason we will be talking about a lot more because if Zadarius Smith isn't around for forever, which he's not going to be, you hope that Isaiah McGuire can fill those shoes and be Myles Garrett's at least pass rush rotation partner. He might not be a clear day one starter forever, but at least be a good member of that defensive line and rotate in. Now, who are you watching for closely in preseason week 1? Drop a name down in the comment section. I'm very curious to see what kind of names we come up with, but let me know who you got your eye on the most this upcoming game. For me, I'm going to go with the rookie, Siaki Ika. He played a lot of snaps in the Jets game. He had some very good snaps. There was a time he was double-teamed, blew up the double team, and came up with a tackle. But we're also in a spot where we know the Browns' defensive line is not in a very sturdy spot when it comes to the interior side of things, right? So can Ika show over 4 preseason games, hey, I'm a rookie, I know that, and I know I'm not going to be called on too much, but can I deliver? Or am I not quite a liability, but am I not serviceable enough in my rookie season where the Browns have to go out and sign a veteran defensive tackle? I also want to add that last year we kind of overhyped or put too much on Perion Winfrey's plate, at least from a fan perspective, where we expected the world out of this 4th-round defensive tackle, and when he didn't deliver, we were all crushed. I don't want the same thing to happen with Ika. That's why I'm excited to see how he looks in the preseason because it's going to serve as a good reminder of he is just a rookie picked in the 3rd round of the draft where he's going to make some nice plays, but he should not be counted on to go out there and be a week 1 starter and be the top rotating member of that defensive line next to Dalvin Tomlinson. To wrap up the show, let's pick a card. We've got producer Jeffrey Cooperstein behind the camera today. Coop, what card do you want to go with?
6 of diamonds.
6 of diamonds. Coop is a big fan of this segment of the show, so he's very excited to have the opportunity to pick a card. 6 of diamonds is a good selection. I'm going to go with the 9 of diamonds. This card hits every time. 3 of hearts. If you pick 3 of hearts every single show, you've probably gotten it correct 4 or 5 times.
I was going to say, that's like the 4th time,
I think we had 3 of hearts on yesterday's show. Not joking. But that's going to do it for us on today's show. We will see you guys later.